I'm Brittany.
And I'm Tori.
And this is...
the Be Afraid of the Dark podcast.
Hello, Spooky.
Calm down, Mariah Carey. Hi, guys. Oh, gosh.
It's been a day.
It's been such a long day. I'm exhausted.
It was such a long day. I was so irritated at work today. And then Lucas texts me and he's like, I got you something. And I'm like, okay. Like,
what is it?
And he goes, do you want it at Christmas or do you want it now? And I'm like, whatever you want. And he goes, okay, text me when you get home from work and I'll give it to you.
He was so excited.
It was all wrapped with a little bow and everything.
Oh, cute. He put effort in it.
Guys, he got me a MacBook Air.
Yay!
I'm so excited. I've been asking for one. I've been wanting one.
Well, you haven't really asked.
Yeah. I've been like bitching about how I need one.
Yeah.
Really badly. And I'm like, I'm going to save up. I'm going to get it myself. Right. I'm going to do it. And he went out and got it today because he knew how bad I wanted it. And yes, YouTubers, I'm fixing my bra. So deal with it.
I was just about to be like, stop picking your boob.
I'm not. My boob's falling out of my bra. So I'm trying to like put it back in my bra.
That's fair.
Sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Girl probs. Hashtag girl probs.
Yes.
Well, today I'm so excited. It's literally the only thing that's gotten me through the day.
I agree wholeheartedly, and that I get to see you, and that we're gonna order food when we're done.
Oh, I'm so excited. I literally haven't eaten today.
Dude, my stomach is growling so bad. Lucas looked at me when we were sitting over here. He goes, was that you or me? I'm like, I think you would know if it was you. That was my stomach. He's like, are you okay?
No, I'm not okay.
I'm like, no, I'm starving.
But yes, so today we have Bethany, who is the owner of a haunted B&B or Airbnb in California.
And we're so freaking stoned. I don't know why I just said freaking. We're so fucking stoned.
When you try to be PG and then realize you're not.
Well, yesterday we had to kind of be PG.
Yeah.
Out of respect, because she was like our grandma.
Yeah.
Not that. But we're so excited about this. I've always wanted to stay in like a haunted house. It just sounds like it would be so
I like want to, but then don't want to all at the same time. Does that make sense? Like I want to because I'm so interested and I love it, but at the same time I'm terrified and probably would piss myself.
I mean, at least you'd stay warm.
That's a fact.
Look at the bright side.
Well, if we share a bed like we normally do when we travel,
we'll be fine.
You're getting some love. Getting some nice warm love.
My favorite. There's nothing I look more forward to than Brittany pissing the bed when we sleep together.
Like every time she's like, maybe I will grab that warm glass of water.
Yeah.
Maybe I will dip her hand tonight, you know?
There's something sexier, Britt.
But yeah, so she's going to come and tell us all about it. And we're really just excited. She's got so many stories. There's
so much history to this house.
So much. We've done our own like backstory and research on the place, but we'll save that for her to share with you guys.
Yes. The coolest part, I think, of all of this is, guys, she's at said haunted house recording.
Yes.
And she said before that she's had like people pick things up during recordings. You're like,
so if you guys hear anything that we miss, please tell us. Please.
Because the last thing I heard was not okay with the laugh over Brittany's laugh a couple episodes ago.
Right.
And I'm like, that doesn't sound like Harold.
Well, the only problem is they never heard that laugh.
I know.
The audio ended up being completely distorted after that.
It wasn't. And then all of a sudden, it was.
Yeah.
We have to completely redo that episode. And like, we both have not like emotionally prepared for it again.
3 episodes that we recorded and we're completely destroyed. So
yeah,
we've got more material coming.
It'll just be a minute.
We have so much like to do for you guys.
Yes. And I'm gonna say it now, in the beginning, and I will say it at the end. Brittany and I are in this like amazing group on
Yes.
Instagram with a bunch of podcasters.
Yes.
And
so much love and
there's-
support in that group.
So one of them actually created a Spotify playlist from
I
all of
saw
our
that.
groups, and we are on it, and others are on it. There's
Yay.
like, I believe she said over I can't remember. It's over 36 to 38 hours of content.
Yeah, so jump on that. We'll
Yes.
have I can't remember what the playlist was called.
I can't either.
So
I will look it up before
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, I honestly can't remember which one created the playlist. That's why I said he, she, because I can't remember at this exact moment. I need to go back into the messages, but it's so incredibly cool that they took the time to do that.
Yeah, and included us into it. We're like so honored to be included in that.
We love every single, like, we've never even met all of them. I know we're going to be doing some
we've
pods
got
with them soon.
Yeah, we've got pods where we'll be on theirs or, vice versa and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really just growing in the podcasting community.
And we're like all there for each other, and we just have normal conversations.
Yeah.
And
it's super sweet.
It's amazing. And I'm going to get the list of them, and I'm going to shout them out at the end.
Yes. Oh my God,
so
yes.
you guys can listen to all of them. It would be so much appreciated, not only from us, but for them. We want you guys to just pop over there and be like, yo, what's good?
What's good, dog?
Like, we want our Spookytins to love
everyone else. I'm so excited.
I know.
All right. And jumping in, here comes the interview.
I can't wait. Oh my God, Brittany. Welcome back, Spookytins, even though it wasn't really a long time for you.
Today we have Elsie with Bethany's sweet home, or home sweet haunted home.
You already messed it up.
I told you the pressure was too much. So, Elsie, please tell us a little bit about how did you find this house? How did you become involved with this house, I guess, is the first place we should start.
I feel like I was scammed into buying it by the spirits. So a lot of people like to spend their time doing whatever. I'm cheap, so I don't actually like to spend money, but I love to spend time on realtor.com. Like, that is like one of my favorite things to do.
Yes.
Is searching houses like all over the United States, but also locally ish.
Right.
And so I found this house, I saw this house, and immediately I was just really drawn to it. And so I told one of my really good friends is my real estate agent. So I was like, I really want to go see this house. And she's like, so she tries to get a hold of the real estate agent. It took like 2 weeks. And like literally every day I'm bugging my friend, like, I want to see that house. I want to see, like, I felt I needed to see the house. Like, it was just screaming at me. And so finally, after about 2 weeks, the real estate agent that was selling it finally got back, and then she showed me around. And during that process, like, the house has this amazing energy during the day, so it really feels like Disneyland when you come in during the day. It is just phenomenal. And I refer to it as Disneyland because I love theme parks. And so like when I walk into a theme park, the energy is so amazing, I want to cry. I do cry. I'm just telling you that.
We're both criers,
Yeah.
so that's
We're right there with
Second
you.
I walk, like when I'm on my way into like a theme park, like I'm like tearing up like an idiot. But like, so that's when I'm saying that this house has that kind of energy. Like that means something for me, because that's kind of how I deal with energy. I relate it to things. So I came in and I just love the house, and it's a big house. It's 7 bedrooms. It was 2 baths. I've added another one. And so it was just a big empty house. It's kind of just, a lot of the old houses were added onto. So it's a little bit like, it's not really attached or flows well. But when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, there's these 2 bedrooms with like an open space and a bathroom in the basement. I could turn that into an apartment, so I could like block those doors off, and then I can come and stay up here and like Airbnb that, and then I'll rent out the majority part of the house as a long-term rental. So that was my plan, and I was so excited. Now this house had been on the market for 8 months. Probably should have been my first red flag.
It's usually red flags when they're on long enough.
Especially in 2021 when everything was being sold within days, for money. And so I ended up getting the house appraised for about $50,000 more than I paid for it. Again, in 2021, in the middle of everyone buy everything.
Wow.
And yeah, so all I was told is that it used to be a brothel, but that's pretty much all I was told about the house. And I was like, all right, cool. And then that was it. And so that's actually when so my personal like Instagram handle and stuff is like Madam Landlord. So I added that because I was like, ooh, I own a brothel now. But
look at me.
Yeah. I'm like, I could see myself. Okay, no. That's for another conversation. I wouldn't look good in jumpsuits, but I could totally, if I was alive back in 1877 when this house was here, I would have been the madam too. But yeah, so no, that's all I knew about the house. Nobody told me the house was haunted, and it's very clear to me that it's been well known that this house has been haunted at least since the 90s.
Okay.
So, because I talked to, I haven't really had the opportunity, or she hasn't really gotten back to me with a girl who grew up here in the 90s, who after the family who lived here for like 60 some odd years sold it, their family bought it. And she said, yeah, we always had such crazy experiences and nobody would believe us. But she hasn't like told me what all those are, but that's mid 90s. But I've also talked to like a tenant who lived here like 5 years ago. And so they had all the same things happening, and the real estate agent who sold it to me was the property management company too. So there's no way they did not.
There's no way no one knew.
Yeah.
Well, I believe so. Like, I don't know that like most states have to like now disclose like if there's been murders or if there's hauntings.
Actually, very few states require it. It's called a stigmatized property. So if there's murders, if there's suicides, even in California, it's like if it's like 3 years, but only like really California and New York care about hauntings. But California, I mean, if I wanted to, I could have sued for it. But nobody told me, and I didn't realize it. I should have known sooner, but nobody told me, and but I didn't find out for sure until my final walkthroughs when the spirits stopped hiding from me.
That's fair. They had to warm up to you.
They were like, who's she? Like, is she
but it was too late for me to back out at that point in time too. So that's why I feel like I was scammed.
Okay,
because
so how did you start learning about the history then?
So after I realized the house was haunted, I kind of changed all of my plans with the house. So I had planned on it being a long-term rental. I had some tenants move in, but they didn't stay for very long. So then I had to like figure out, okay, do I keep on playing this game where I have tenants move in for 2-3 months? Or, maybe I should turn it into an Airbnb, because it's one thing to visit a haunted house. It's another thing to live in one. Right.
Yeah,
so
100%.
like I said, the energy in this house during the day is Disneyland, but at night it is very dark, very heavy. You always feel like somebody's watching you. So it's very different. I still don't. I know who a lot of the spirits are. We haven't had anything bad really happening here. Like everything that's like people might freak out about, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. But I don't like being here alone at night. So it's
That's
just
fair.
one of those things that like, if I don't even want to be alone at night for one night, finding people to live here all the time, I literally was worried it would affect their mental health. Like that was a concern for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And so like, I just kind of live by, as an empath, I just live by, if it's not good enough for me, it's not good enough for somebody else. And I would
relatable.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to live here all the time. And so I don't think it's fair for me to to rent it to somebody else. And of course, like again, when the tenants moved in, I told them the house is haunted, and they're like, oh, it's fine. And they had stuff happening or whatever. And they kind of acted like it was no big deal. But again, 2 months later, they're bouncing. So it's kind
Right.
of like, well, is it no big deal or is it not? But meanwhile, you're
Right.
watching their mental health decline too.
Right.
So it's kind of, okay, well, like I really don't want somebody like really hurting themselves in this house. That's,
Yeah.
whole different level of problem. And I have enough
Oh
ghosts.
yeah.
You don't need any
So
more.
Right.
exactly. I mean, I figure I'll be one eventually, but I don't need any more here,
Right.
So I really like had to think about that. And so that's why I decided to turn it into a short-term rental, because I just thought, it's fine to be here for a couple of days, but I just don't,
Right.
I just can't trust people, like I just don't trust that it wouldn't necessarily be harmful to people to be here all the time. And now, of course, that being said, I understand that I'm a highly intuitive empath. So it's different for me than it might be for
Right.
somebody else that has no
Right.
ability. But I'm not willing to risk it.
Yeah, because like I
That's
know that like our resident ghost, we like to call him our resident ghost.
Yeah.
I named him Harold. He is he likes to kind of mess with you, but he doesn't give off that like bad feeling
Yeah.
like I've had for other
Right.
spirits that have been around, unlike the one that you had in your home for a while.
I'm not fully convinced that my ghost has left, because he has had some activity lately, but
She had a gnarly one in hers. It was my first like actual brush with like physical touch by a spirit.
Happens all the
And-
time here. So
And well,
It's
it
no
was
big
my
deal to
first
me.
time being like touched by something, but it was like it wasn't a good.
yeah. My ghost was the first time I've ever seen a full body, like, I wouldn't call it like an apparition. I would say more of like a shadow figure that was like full, not just like the quick out of your corner of your eye. Like, I was walking in the dark and I full on thought my boyfriend was standing at the top of the stairs waiting to scare me in the dark. And I was like, I can see you. Like, and I'm talking to him. He's not responding. I'm like, I can see you. You can cut the act. And I get upstairs and he's dead asleep snoring in our bedroom. And I'm like, oh, okay.
When was
Never
the first?
mind.
How old were you guys when you had your first experiences?
I was young, because that my first time being touched by a ghost, I was probably 4th grade. So like 7, 8.
I've seen
4th grade's like
that.
9.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Mine was the first time I got touched was at your house.
Yeah.
But I've been seeing spirits since I was probably about 6. It was like shortly after my mother passed away that I was like starting to like able to like hear things, see things, but like I didn't have like a full spiritual awakening until like Britt and I met.
Yeah.
As like when we both actually had this like
Yeah.
and now I'm more sensitive than she is
Yes,
to
very
a lot
much.
of things.
Very much.
I can walk in a room and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So-
I'm like, I would call myself like a very low end empath.
I'm like a here and she's like a here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was 7 when I saw my first ghost, but I stopped. I don't see them anymore.
Okay.
I put up a block when I was in high school, probably, because I saw a fair number of shadow people, and I just realized shadow people were negative.
Yeah.
And I could feel the positive, but I could see these negative figures. So I was like, nope. And so now I can't see them whatsoever. I mean, it'll be a whole group of us. Everyone else will be staring at the shadow figure, like staring at it in this house, and I can't see it. So I have a complete block up. I don't want to see it. Although I just started watching the show Ghosts, which is like, the BBC version and the American version.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me want to be able to see them now, because like I want to know if they're hanging out on the couch with me, but these ones, but I don't want to see all the rest.
Right.
But
It's
this
like you
house,
turn it on and off.
yeah. But this house has definitely made it. So like I said, I'm a highly intuitive empath. I am a physical medium.
Okay.
But it is kicking all of that into overdrive ever since I came here. Well, ever since I bought this house. Now that I'm now that I'm constantly inundated with like this spiritual stuff. Now, it was used to be pretty rare that I would have like spirits come and like, as a physical medium, oftentimes I feel how somebody dies.
Right.
And again, this has been going on my whole life. I basically just figured this out since buying this house, that that's what's going on, because how would I know that?
Right.
And I get, but ever since buying this house, like I can't go anywhere. I gave blood like 2 days ago and checked in. The woman took me into the room to ask me about my boring sex life and my lack of mad cow disease and all that stuff, right? To make me feel really embarrassed by how pathetic I am. No mad cow, no sex workers, like nothing exciting, right? Super boring. And while I'm in there, I'm like, oh, like I get this pain and it's on the left side. It's always the left side for me. And I get this pain and I cannot breathe. And I'm just like, all right, Elsie, don't let them know that you're doing this because maybe they won't take your blood. And of course, I know what this is, but they don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
I go and give blood every 8 weeks. They know about this place. They actually rented this place. And so, yeah, so they'll talk about it all the time with me when I'm there because they find it interesting. And so I was giving blood, and again, it's like it's the same woman. She asked the questions and then took me out. And then so I'm giving blood, and which is super easy for me, but I'm like squirming uncomfortably. And she's like, oh, don't worry, we're almost done. And I'm like, oh, it's not that. I said, there's somebody here. And she goes, huh, okay, well, like, and she's like, and I usually don't tell people this, so I don't know why I told her it. And she was kind of like, I don't know, she seemed like it was like totally like a normal conversation. And I was like, I don't really know why somebody would be here though. Like, like this is a shopping center with a blood donation thing. And I was like, but I can't breathe. And she's like, it makes sense to me. And I was like, it makes sense to you? Like, and she said, and then she tells me, yeah, today's the 13th year anniversary of my brother dying by suicide.
Oh,
Wow.
And so she knew he was there, but she doesn't have what I have, but she just always just knows that he's like hanging out with her or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it's good to know. And then, she finished me up, wrapping me up. And she's like, hey, I'm really sorry about that. And I'm like, it's fine, but your brother has to stay here with you. I get out of the chair. I walk over to get my snacks. Totally fine. But from the time I was next to her, like we walked in that first room and then like the whole time I'm like, I can't breathe. Like, so yeah, so it's like, now it's like, I can't even give blood or go to an estate or like a garage sale, without having these things happening, and having to ask way too personal questions to the people around me, because I'm like, who is this? Whose is this? Like,
who are you?
like I literally though went to like asthma doctors. They did all this stuff to try to figure out why I get these stabbing pains and I cannot breathe. Like and they're like, yeah, it doesn't sound like asthma. No, you don't have asthma, but here, take an inhaler anyways. And one time I remember, and now of course it makes sense. One of the times that it happened, I was on a dinghy in the middle of the ocean in China. I used to live in China.
Okay.
And I was with my roommate and a friend, and we were on this tiny rowboat in the middle of the ocean, and I am having it so bad. I cannot breathe. I'm just like sitting there, like just holding my chest. I cannot breathe. And they were freaked out because they're like, she's going to die in this little tiny boat. We cannot row her back to shore.
We're going to be in so much trouble.
Yeah. So they were like really freaked out about it. And so it sticks in my memory, this thing that happened in like 2002. But I literally just figured out like within the last year, that's what this has been my entire life.
Wow, that's amazing.
I have like segueing, as a medium, I have a question for you.
I don't call myself, it's been a hard one for me. I'm still learning to use this stuff, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if you can answer it. So my husband, is a skeptic.
Very much so.
But he angered Harold and kind of retaliated at him. Be like, kind of like, you want me to prove myself, bitch? So is that like an actual normal thing? Even if they're not like harmful, they'll be like, hey, like, you really don't think I'm real? Like, let's play some games. Because that is exactly what he did.
in every awful paranormal show, you see men yelling at spirits, right? I mean, there's a reason for it, because so they're trying to trigger that behavior. So yeah, I mean, you know, these are my unalive roommates, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
treat them like they're alive, like they're human people, because
That's
they
how
were
I treat Harold.
right?
Yep.
And I'm a future dead person. So I would want to be treated with respect. So if you were came
Nice.
into my house and were a fucking dickbag to me, how do you expect that you think that I'm going to be nice about it? No, I
Yeah.
definitely not going to be nice.
He
about
is
it.
definitely much nicer to Harold now, because he gave him a really good scare. He put all of his stuff at like what, so like he comes home and he puts like his keys and his wallet and his phone and like turns it around for the flashlight to shine down so he can untie his shoes. He looks up and everything that is right here in front of him flies all the way into the wet kitchen sink. And it's like,
Good job, Harold.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So that's why I'm saying I have this all the time. Like when I'm watching like ghost shows and they're like, oh, this thing happened like 2 months ago. And then this, and I'm like, wait, so something happens like a couple of times of a year? Like something moved? Like that's not that big of a deal. I mean, they're just communicating, right? And so I feel like that, and that's why it is frustrating for me that I don't like to be here alone at night, because I feel like I have a good relationship with my spirits, which is the weirdest thing I've ever said in my life, right? So the house feels alive, but not like a dog, not like a plant, but like a goldfish, right? So the house has this house is
goldfish.
Yeah.
so this house is alive, but all these different spirits are here, and there's like, I have one that's grumpy, but we manage. Like I'm not using her room. Like I it's a bedroom, but it's not being used because she doesn't want anybody in there. So I really kind of made it uncomfortable for people to be in there. But like, and sure, sometimes she gets mad and knocks artwork off the wall and breaks it, but if that's not that really big of a deal in the end, like I just don't put nice artwork back there for her, so it's just like I've learned to live with them and all of their behaviors. I have one who likes to touch and very specifically also likes to grab women's butts. But it's kind of just like, okay, well, I'm not going to train this old dude not to grab women's butts now. Like he's never going to learn
He's
that.
not going to stop.
Exactly. I'm not going to teach him that. So it's just like, all right, Fred, whatever. Like smile and nod.
Smile
like,
and nod. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to change them and their energies, right? So I need to learn how to live with them, but I just don't think any of it's really like all that scary. I mean, I'm still sometimes like blown away by the activity that we get, but I don't particularly find it scary, at least anymore, now that I know who they are. Back when I didn't know who they were, having them pounding and banging and all this sort of stuff, that was scary. But now that I know them better and know kind of what to expect from them, that's the grumpy woman. She doesn't like noise. So if there's noise, she's going to bang, she's going to stomp, or occasionally knock some artwork off the wall and break it. But I mean, so what, and she can influence people too, but usually she just influences people to be pissed off about the noise, to yell at people, to tell them to shut the hell up and that sort of thing. So like I have had some weird stuff happen, but usually the weird stuff happens with paranormal investigators. I think it's their shit, not my shit. They're bringing their baggage into the house and it's reacting one way or another, especially since I have portals here. But I don't think it sticks with the house because I don't have any issue. I don't have any really problematic issues.
That's why I'm like, I don't know if my like spirit is bad or not, because like he showed as a shadow person, and shadow people are typically like nasty. He's growled at my boyfriend and he touched you.
Not in a nice way. I felt him standing behind me, like staring at me for a solid 10 minutes, and I wouldn't turn around because I was terrified.
But then at the same time, he just recently knocked over, or he ripped one of my daughter's like pictures off her wall, but he didn't break it. Like the picture is still fine.
And same thing with mine breaking. I don't necessarily think that she was meaning to break it. I think she overshot the basket, but like, people were here, they were making too much noise, and she needed to stop it. So that's what she did.
Yeah.
Now the thing is with shadow people is it is so kind of like back and forth in what people believe about them. Some people think they're dimensional beings.
Right.
Yeah, I was just
And
gonna
I
say
do wonder
dimensional
if I
beings.
have dimensional stuff going on here, like with the grumpy lady. The
Mhm.
only EVPs we've got out of her is fuck you and get out. Like that's all I've gotten from her. Now sometimes I wonder if she thinks that I'm the ghost because we're
Me
in
as a
different
ghost,
dimensions.
though.
You know,
yeah.
like, is that the problem, or is she just that grumpy? Like, is she just
Yeah.
grumpy all the time?
Well, I guess
Um,
that's a great. Can you introduce us to your ghosts? Like,
oh, there's so many of them. I don't know who they all are, but I know who
Yeah.
some are. I put up a REM pod hoping that they would come in and talk to you guys, but they have yet to touch it. So maybe
Well, don't worry, ghosties. We love you and
right,
support you.
Yes, you can come
I
and
think
talk to us too.
you read my website, so you know that I'm
Yes.
pretty in depth in some of them, and I really do have like genuine affection for these spirits, for some of these spirits here.
Oh, and we
Because-
have the most utmost respect for the paranormal. Like,
Yes.
I mean, including like even like the negative. You still want to like respect that it's a negative spirit and you want to
Yes.
do something to address that. But
Yes.
I'm always going to be respectful.
Yeah.
Because not only is there so much I want to learn from them,
Yeah.
I want to let them know, like, we're good. Like,
Right.
I mean you no harm. We just want to learn from you and
Yeah.
about you, your history, because
Right.
you know more than we know.
Because
Yeah.
most people don't have this binder full of history.
Yep, that
Yeah,
I mean, yep, that
that's
would
fair.
definitely do it.
So I guess
So- Back to your question of
Yeah.
how I found out. So basically what happened was, so when I decided to turn it into an Airbnb, I had to go through the business license. I had named it Bethany's Home Sweet Haunted Home, which was stupid in retrospect because that meant I then had to go get a fictitious name statement. So I had to go to the county. So I go to the county to get my fictitious name statement so then I could turn it into the city to get my business license.
right.
And when I turned it in, a girl read it and then she's like, she called one of her coworkers over and she's like, here, look at this. So her coworker actually does paranormal investigations. So
Wow.
I'm in the city of Jackson, California. So we're in the gold country. So
Yep.
this is Wild West country.
Yep.
And the whole area is very haunted. So it's not just
Yeah.
my house. It's like literally every place around me is haunted. It just happens to be, it kind of feels like this might be like an epicenter of energy. And that's
Right.
because probably I have several portals here.
Yeah,
One
so
on
like
the
that
inside, one
portal is
outside.
like
So, and then I have this creek that runs along the back of the house, which is super full
Yep.
right now. So I have all these things that come together to make this like the perfect place to haunt. So
Yeah.
anyways, she comes up and she's telling me she's a paranormal docent at Preston Castle, which is, been on the shows and all of those shows and stuff too.
Right.
So I start talking to her and I build a friendship with her. She pulls up a list of the deeds of everyone who's lived here.
Wow.
So I have like copies. Oops, sorry. So this is 1878. This is the deed from 1878.
wow.
A copy of it from when Maggie, she was the second owner. She was like 22 years old. She bought this house as a single woman, which
Was impressive.
Yeah, like maybe even
go-
illegal.
I'm
but-
not even sure, but yeah, that's impressive for that
Yes.
era.
Well, yeah, because women weren't really allowed to own property, but usually if they did, it's because it was given to them by their husbands or their fathers, usually in death.
Right.
Right. So women just didn't buy property, but here they didn't care. Just like they're at the I am 700 feet from the cemetery. At the cemetery, there's this really cool plaque about a woman. Her name's like Madame something Pantaloon. And she was a woman who made alcohol. She had she was a minor and all this stuff, and she wore pants. And so she was chased out of San Francisco and Virginia City, but here nobody cared. Like here, I guess they just didn't care about the laws. And so those laws
Right.
included a lot of the ones that held women back too, which
Right.
so like, thank you. But so I'm pretty sure, yeah. So I'm pretty sure Maggie was a madam. So I think she ran it. But yeah, so she gave me a list of all the names. And so I immediately started going into the newspapers and Googling and
Right.
trying to find information about these people. And I found found some stuff, not a ton of stuff. And one of the families who lived here for like 60 years, I couldn't find anything. Well, after about a month of us talking, she decided to come into the house. She's like, she just wanted to see if I was full of shit, basically.
Right.
And so she comes in the front door, and like as soon as she does, it like slaps her. Like she's got a headache, it's spinning, she's spinning, and she's like really on the skeptic side of paranormal investigations. She's like, I didn't even really believe until a couple of years ago. So that's kind of why she got into paranormal investigations, because she's a skeptic. So yeah, so as soon as she walks in, it just hits her. We go into the first room, which is Bethany's room. And she's in there. And again, so she's like, her ears hurting. She's got all this stuff going. She's like, I can't be in this room. Like the energy was too much. I can't be in this room. I have to get out of this room. I'm like, all right, great. So in this house, they like to be like, whatever room you're not in, it's making noise in. So if I'm here in the living room, then in the back of the house, there's noise. So after that, we were in the kitchen because, I had stayed here the weekend before. So this was in March. I had stayed here the weekend before with some friends. They wanted to go wine tasting. We're pretty close. We're like 20 minutes away from a ton of wineries. And they were afraid of ghosts. And so the ghosts never appeared, because this house, actually the spirits are really good about boundaries. If you're afraid of them, they don't play with you. Or if you don't believe in them, they don't play with you. Like they're going to save it for the people who actually want to communicate with them. And so, but they kind of like to give me grand gestures when they behave, like, haha.
Right.
So yeah, so the weekend before we had stayed here, and then I have placemats on the kitchen table. They disappeared. And so she was helping me, like we were like hanging out in the kitchen, but I was also like going through all the drawers trying to figure out where these placemats disappeared to. And so we're hearing stuff in the basement, the unfinished part of the basement. And so finally I'm like, all right. And she's like, her ears ringing where it's like facing the basement. I'm like, all right, let's just go in. Like they want to talk to you. And there's a very, like, I have a portal in my basement, but there's just a very specific weird section of my basement that even like that creeped me out. Like I didn't want to go down there. Like you just one of those things where you just stare at it. Like you can't.
Right.
You can't.
I live in my basement, literally, and I have a spot in the basement I don't like going into by myself. Like it freaks me out, and it's literally the Christmas room.
And it's weird because this unfinished part of the basement, there's like this main kind of section, and then they just built walls around it. So on this wall, there's a door that opens up to like the rest of the unfinished part of the basement. And then there's the wall in the back, it opens up to a hallway that takes you back to the main part of the basement. So I don't know why they did what they did, but it's this hallway that's very just like creepy. And then it didn't help that section always creeped me out. And then about 3 months after I moved in, or after I bought the house, I realized that there was a cross on the door.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, so somebody used masking tape to put a cross on the door, but it's the same color as the paint. So I never noticed it until I walked down there one day with a black light, and it glowed. And I was like, so it's not just me that hates this section, it's somebody else. But my first paranormal investigation was like right after I bought the house. And even like the demonologist came in and was just staring down there. And he's like, yeah, you have a portal in here. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. Because again, I have been affected by spirits my whole life, but I don't know anything about it. I've never really done like I've never done paranormal investigations. I've like been to the Stanley, and I've been to, Trans-Allegheny, and I've had stuff happen to me, but I'm like, don't know what I'm doing. I never had, ghost equipment before now, it's my
I
first.
just got so jealous. She said she's been to the Stanley.
I know.
Well, I've been to so many places now, yet you would get really jealous.
That's like our dream place to go.
If we could have a honeymoon of our friendship, it would be at the Stanley.
Well, you should have a honeymoon for your friendship. But I guess we're getting derailed. So let's talk about the Stanley really quick. We did the paranormal tour, nothing. Came back in, went to bed. It was me, my niece, and my cousin. And I was out. I was absolutely passed out. But sometimes that happens because I get drained. Yeah. But they were hearing somebody running around in our room all night long. And so they were freaked out. And so at some point in time, they're hearing this and they're like, is Elsie awake? And the second I heard my name, my eyes were open. I'm like, yes, what? And they're like, are you hearing that? I'm like, no, like, leave me alone. Well, then I hear like a glass rattle noise. And so I just figured like, oh, maybe the people behind us, their bathroom, like the shower door rattled. And so in the morning I got up and I rattled the shower door and like, nope, didn't sound anything like that. It sounded like a single pane glass rattle.
Right.
And then when we were going to leave at like 7:00 in the morning, as I was walking out, because there's these locked doors that keep you from like the public area from the hotel. So that way random people just can't come and hang out in the hotel. Like you can only come out and hang out in the, you know, the bar and the front space. So I was walking through that door and I felt something do this to my head. Like play with my hair on the top of my head. And I was like, all right, but that's all we had happening there. But all right.
Go
So
a little harder there, bud.
You're gonna scratch it and you get that good.
Go a little to the left.
Okay, so let's take a quick break. I'm gonna stop the recording. All right, we're back from our break.
Like always, because we always
Okay.
gotta freaking pee.
Yeah. The common theme on our podcast is pee break.
oh, just wait till you're older. So it's
It's either pee breaks or Brittany burping. So
okay.
Well,
Well, I guess
you get one of the two.
I prefer pee breaks, I guess, then.
Yeah. But you were telling us about your ghosts.
Yeah. So the woman who works for the county, who she was able to give me the deed, she gave me the list of all the names of the people who own the house. And so I was doing the research. She came over. We're in the basement. And we went into the unfinished part of the basement. She pulls out her phone and she introduced me to the Necrophonics app. So I've never seen any of this stuff before because, again, I'm not involved in this.
Right.
And she comes in and she says, "Hi, my name is Marcy." She goes, "What's your name?" And it says Steve. And I'm like, who's Steve? And it's just like I'm processing in my head, Steve, right? And then I remember I'm like, Stefano. So the man who owned this house for 60 years was Stefano, like the family who owned it. And so I was like, oh, you know, Stefano. And she knows kind of the names. And of course they were here forever. His daughter, her name's Yolanda, and she's still alive, and she's a big pain in the ass, but whatever. She and so I was like, Yolanda's dad. And then so she goes, do you know, I think she actually said Yvonne, like, who's Yvonne? And there's no response. And then like, who's Melinda? No response, because his wife's name was Marilda. And then she says, what's my name? And then clear as day, it is Marcy. And she noped the F out of the basement. She was like, nope, that's enough. And I guess it is weird because I don't know if you guys have had spirits say your name before. I haven't until very recently. Actually, we were in the basement and they said my name and I like started crying. Yeah, because it's like, but I've never heard a spirit say my name before. So it was kind of, I think, and to get it in a full sentence, like, first of all, you don't usually get full sentences. So it is Marcy. I can see why that would freak people out.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how I found out Steve's name. And then when I started doing research under Steve, all this stuff came up with all of his criminal past started coming up. But I never would have gotten that if he hadn't have told me what his name was.
Right.
So another question pertaining to the ghosts. Have any of them, like, actually, I know you say like you're not scared of them anymore, but have you ever had one that makes you actually scared?
The grumpy woman is definitely an uncomfortable spirit. So when I first bought the house, I never would go into that room. And it's like this half of the bookcase over behind it. But I wouldn't go in there. Actually, I still forever, I wouldn't even come upstairs. Like, it wasn't for a whole year, because I bought it in May of 2021. It wasn't until May of 2022 that I would even come upstairs at all at night. But that bedroom, it was empty, like, until like the very end. After everything else was done, that's when I started putting stuff in there. So I mean, I still don't love hanging. I don't really want to go out in there. She doesn't freak me out as much as she used to, but she's definitely she's an uncomfortable spirit. So it's different with her than it is with Fred and Linda and Steve, and so like,
it's so awesome that you can just like call them by name.
I know, it's amazing.
So I am lucky because first of all, I have, the list of names.
Right.
And then I still didn't know I still don't know who all of them are because there's a lot. I don't know who all of them are, but I do know who some of these ones are. So when I bought the house, I talked to Steve's daughter and I said, hey, is the house haunted? And did anybody die in the house? And she's like, no, neither. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the second she called me one day, like out of the blue, and she goes like, somebody did see my dad in the basement once.
Oh,
Which
Oh
is where
wow.
he told us his name. So
Right.
I'm like, but nobody died in there.
Okay.
And then the third time she called me, she said, fine, they're there. They're all there. My dad's there. My mom's there. My sister's there. Fred's there. So she's just
Wow.
like being kind of throwing an old lady tantrum. And then
Okay.
she also tells me that somebody died in the room where the creepy lady is in the 50s, but she doesn't remember who he is.
Okay.
Because he was like one of the boarders. So this house was, after it was a brothel, it was a boarding house forever. And I don't have lists of those people. I don't have
Right.
lists
Oh,
of
yeah.
sex workers. I don't have lists of the boarders, so I do know about some of the tragedies that befell some of the boarders, but that's only because they put the name, Steve's name attached to it.
Right.
Like, because Steve took the guy to the hospital, or one of the miners who broke his back in 1906, they brought him back here, and it says in the newspaper article that he was taken to Miss Guerra's boarding house.
Yeah.
So like that's the only reason why I have any of these stories, is because in those newspapers the owner of the boarding house's name was listed. So there's very likely lots of stuff I don't know. But I just kind of thought she was throwing a tantrum, didn't really think too much about it. And then at some point in time, we decided to start asking them, like, are you Fred? Are you Linda? And so, because they're really good about communicating with, they're really good with dowsing rods, they're really good with K2s. And oftentimes during like Estes method, you'll hear Fred and Linda fighting. So it doesn't always make sense unless you take in consideration there's two people there.
Right.
They're not talking to you, they're talking to each other. So there's not a, you might be asking questions and you're like, this doesn't make sense, but no, they're not talking to you. They're talking to each other. And so you have to take all that out of it. So we have that happen like quite often. So so that's what kind of helped like lead me in that direction. But yeah, we still have plenty that, I don't know who the grumpy lady is. I don't.
Okay.
There's one here named Sam. I don't know who he is whatsoever, but his name has come up so many times that since day one, since the first paranormal investigation, when I first bought the house, that it's like, definitely there's a Sam here, but I don't know who it is. And then, did you see the picture of the bed on my website? I have it at the very, very bottom. So there's a picture in the bedroom. So the pink bedroom is also where Fred and Linda stayed.
Okay.
So it's that room, you couldn't pay me to sleep in that room. I'm not going to. It'd never happen. But it is very crowded. Yeah, it's very crowded because we have Fred and Linda in there because that was their room when they were alive. But then we also have the people in the bed who are not Fred and Linda. And so in the picture, I see 5 people. I see a woman on one end, a man like cradling a child on the other end, and then 2 girls in between them. So that's a lot on that bed. So in that room, it's just very crowded. And the room is it's kind of separated from the rest of the house. So it also makes it kind of weirder because you have to go like all the way down the hall, all the way down that hall. And then there's the room in. And so, I mean, like if somebody were to scream, you'd hear them. It would just take you a little bit longer to get there. But so it's in this little crowded corner, and then the room is very crowded itself. So there's like all these spirits that are in that room. So I don't know who those are. I have thoughts about who they might be, but I don't know for sure who they are because a family who lived here before me, they lived here for 2 years and they are a family of empaths. And the guy was telling me that the only names he ever got was William and Maggie. And so the first owner, like her name is Maggie Guerra, and then she married William Holder. So he came up with the names Maggie and William, and there's no other way you would know those names. Like he hasn't done the research I have to know who these people are. So Maggie died in her early 40s. So I don't know what of, because we don't care about women enough to put what they died of. We just care about who their husband is. But William, he drowned in the creek. So yeah, so it says that it was like he was drunk and it was an accident and he fell in the newspaper, but I actually think he was murdered. He had some assault charges previously, and he was a drunk. So, you know, it's possible, but the reason I don't think it's true is because, so we've got this article from we actually got a couple of them. 1909. Yeah, 1909. And it says that deceased was a victim to the liquor habit, and it's supposed that in attempting to cross the narrow footbridge or plank where his body lay, he missed his footing and fell into the creek. His feet were in the water, but the greater part of his body was on the bank.
Seems a little fishy, a little fishy.
It sounds a little sketchy.
So I guess you can like dry drown, where you like drink and then you like crawl out and then you die. But I just think it's more likely that he's just was dumped, because back then there wasn't like forensics. Basically, they would have a jury. They would get a bunch of guys together and go, "Hey, do you think it was an accident or do you think he was murdered?" And they're like, "Yeah, it was an accident." We're like, okay, great.
Sounds good.
So that way, nobody would actually have to try to figure it out. And of course, how could they? They didn't know that, go into the lungs and see if they had water in them. Right. So that didn't happen. And oftentimes in the house, we get a lot of scents. So olfactory apparitions is what it's called. But, you get all the ghostly smells. And one we get a lot is campfire. And he was a blacksmith. So
which would make total sense.
Yeah. And I've had people say, like, before you enter in that pink room, that they see like a scruffy, dirty man back there. And so I'm like, okay, it always smells like fire back there. People have seen scruffy, dirty man back there. It kind of makes sense that this is William.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure. And I don't like William, and I can't tell you why. So that is just me and my energetic feeling. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. He can, no, I think he was a jerk. But yeah, so I just did a whole lot of research on all the families, like all the family trees. Like I can tell you about William Holder's widows' children, like just because I kept getting down these rabbit holes of all the drama and like interesting, because I just love reading the newspapers from like this time period.
Right. Oh, 100%.
They're just fun, but it's just interesting stories that you end up finding. So part of it's just about the history for me. My real job is in research, and then also just wanting to figure out who the spirits are, so I can feel more comfortable by humanizing them. It's all kind of was important, and so that's how you end up with all of these articles about the family, the town, the area, and Steve's family. Steve was an interesting guy. He came from Italy. He got into a bunch of legal trouble, and it's fine. And of course, it's his daughter's upset that I've posted his history on my page, on my website. But I mean, I've been very respectful. And again, I think it's also different looking at it through the lens of the 2020s versus the 1920s, 1930s. Because, for example, so he, obviously everyone was bootlegging, but he was a bootlegger. So this house had a saloon in it. It had a gambling hall in it. The number one commerce out here still is gambling. We have the Jackson Rancheria. It's a couple of miles away. That rancheria still employs a ton of people and provides so much money to this town in this county. So So gambling is still here. So it's like that's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Some of the other stuff I found. So he was arrested for high grading, which is conspiracy to sell stolen gold to the government, which basically he got 18 months in Leavenworth for this, because when he's doing all this illegal activity, the miners are giving him gold that they stole from the mines that they work at.
Right.
And so the government was like, where are these people? So he was getting the gold, melting it down, like coining it up, sending it to his wife's, they weren't married, niece in San Francisco, and she would take it to the mint every week. And then after like 11 weeks, they're like, where is she getting this really good gold from? And so they
Right,
started
yeah.
investigation. And his wife said, well, you can't expect miners to work for $4 a day and not steal gold. So she basically said that she knew it was stolen. So
Wow.
that's how all that happened. So he got sent to Leavenworth, but they took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court overruled it. And then they got married, but she used a fake name for some reason. I don't know why. But they didn't get married, divorced until 1935. Linda, she was born with the new woman in 1933.
Okay.
So he was still married when he was having babies. So again,
Wow.
nowadays, who cares, right?
Right.
But in 1930s, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
But now it's not. And I can't ever actually find a marriage license for Steve and Marilda. So that being said, maybe my grandfather knocked up my grandmother in 1948, and my grandfather was married. So they went to Mexico and got married, but it wasn't legal because
Right.
obviously he couldn't be married. And so it wasn't until he got divorced the following year, and my father was already born, that he married my grandmother legally. And I'm sure the only reason he did it, he was in the military. But if you didn't have that, then why bother? But they definitely didn't get married in the county because
Right.
I've checked the records. They didn't get married in the county. But again, like 1930s, that's like scandalous. But now it's like, who cares?
I know.
So he, and then the last time he got arrested was in 1939. But this time, so, right after the Great Depression, it was like 6 of them that were arrested again for high grading, but it was over $300,000 worth of gold, which today would be $7 million worth of gold. But that time he only got 6 months in county jail and $1,000 fine.
Hey, that's a pretty penny.
You're so funny.
What's funny,
that-
since you started talking about like your spirits and everything, all like that's in my brain is like Linda.
What do you mean?
Like all I keep thinking about is her. It's like for some reason I'm not even there, but like I just like it's like I'm having this impact from her.
Wow.
Like all I'm thinking about is her. I'm just sitting here.
She's strong. She's a strong character.
Like she's telling me all these things about these other ones, but all I keep getting is this like
every time Linda's brought back up.
Yeah, it's every single time it's someone else's name's mentioned. It's like
Linda. And
I'm like, no. Like it's so weird.
So Linda, I feel like she's really powerful, and she does check the guys. Like when Fred, I don't know how she married some losers. She married some losers. I'm going to tell you, her first husband looks like their daughter's still alive, so I should be careful what I say here. But his picture kind of creeped me out. I'm just going to say. And then Fred. I mean, they had a tumultuous relationship. There was a lot of alcohol involved. And so, you know how that works. And that's how the house feels to me as well, because I was told that they would drink and they would fight, that was pretty common. But my mother was an alcoholic, and not that she stopped drinking, she just died, just to be clear. And so the house feels a lot like her. So it's Disneyland, and then at some point in time, so it feels like her to me. So at some point in time, it goes from Disneyland to depressing and heavy. And that's how her personality was. And so that's what the house feels like to me. And I think that's them. I think that's their energy, because they have their drunken highness all day long. And then at night, that switches.
Right. Yeah.
But I do think that she's constantly trying to, like, as Fred's grabbing women's asses, that she's the one who's like, knock it off. Like, she will tell him off.
Right.
And so I kind of feel like she's kind of a protector around here too, which I appreciate. So,
Right.
but I put up like a bunch of cardinal Christmas decorations and stuff because that was their last name.
Okay.
In the house. But yeah, there were some characters, but I have a lot of respect for Linda. I always wondered why Linda and Marilda would be here actually. But at first I was thinking there must be like some big family secret. Because why would you have all these people from the same family here? But now I just realized that the house does cause attachments. This very alive goldfish,
Right.
it causes people to become attached to it.
Yeah.
And I have it. Like, I just drove an hour here so I can talk to you guys in front of this bookcase. I could have done this from home. But I pretty much am always looking for any excuse to come up here because I am
Right.
have an
Well,
attachment.
we love that.
Yeah, we appreciate it so much.
I know, we appreciate it. We'd obviously
like-
take you wherever you want. We take you in the middle of a Walmart parking lot through a Zoom call. We don't care. We just want to know about it. It's so
I know. I'm
amazing.
thinking we should take this down to the basement at some point in time, see if we can talk to Steve. But
oh my god.
Oh my god, no,
I'm
so
living.
amazing.
She's not. I'm living. Yes.
because Linda and Fred are pretty good about, or Linda is really good about using like K2s, but I don't know. They've like never really done it for me like on camera. So I'm not sure. And then also the interference, I'm not sure how that would work. And so it is one of those things, but I just turned off my cell phone to see if that would help. Because so that's my only concern with the interwebs there is that like, hey Linda, can you come and play with this? She's really good at playing with this, but I don't know about doing it with this situation, right? Because I do have like very I work in research, so I don't want a bunch of nonsense. Like, if it's not real, it's not real. Like, but I do a lot with them. But the Necrophonics app works really good down in the basement. I don't know why, but it does. And as long as I can hear Santa coming down the street, so I can give him the food for the homeless shelter, or for the homeless shelter, I'm good. And I can hear that from in the basement too, because the basement actually, where Steve hangs out, is actually under the porch.
Oh wow!
So it's like it's outside basically, but it's in the basement. But yeah, so I can take you guys down there.
That would be so cool. I'm interested.
I'm super interested. Yeah.
I had a radio station DJs that came out recently, right before like the day before Halloween, and we were in there, and they had some stuff that, like, I mean, they were here very quickly, but they had some stuff, and they were shocked because they keep going to like haunted places, but they haven't had anything happen, and this is like the first time they've really had stuff happen.
Right.
Yeah, was here. Where they like said their names, and then in the room with Fred and Linda, his wife was starting to get dizzy, and so she's like, can I sit on the bed? I'm like, go ahead. And she sat in the bed, and over the Necrophonics it said, get off of me.
Oh, I'd be out, so Fiona was out. Fiona's like, bye.
Yeah, so get off of me. And then again, the picture of the bed with all the people on it. So that was that bed too. So it's like, okay, like
they're here,
and
they
also,
stay.
like, while I was at it, the EMF detectors going off too while that was happening too. So it's kind of like, okay, we're out. But so yeah,
I know as soon as like we got invited to like the group podcast chat and whatnot, and we started talking with you, I literally went and like texted Tori, and I was like, so when we fly into California now,
you gotta you fly here and then you hit Colorado on the way back right now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, it would be the best.
Bro,
why don't you just do a really long road trip? You can hit some Pennsylvania, West Virginia,
Oh yeah.
Well, we have so many places that
I know.
We
like you honestly would have to do like a West Coast for like 1 week, and then do like an East Coast like a couple months later or something.
I feel like over here we have haunted places, sure. It's just obviously our history isn't as long,
right.
So it's a little bit different, but this because this area, I equate this area to Gettysburg, right? It's just like there's so much haunted stuff, because like here, this was native land. We had the gold miners, so we had the miners dying left and right, and all the gold, west nonsense. and then also just in the mines were very dangerous when they started to commercialize them more. We had
Right.
all of the sex workers and all the torment they went through. We had the
Oh, wow.
Chinese that we had indentured and
Yeah.
didn't treat them very well. So there's just so much that goes into this area for being like really traumatized because of
Right.
all of these things. So I feel like this area is similar to like Gettysburg and how traumatized that land is,
Right.
So we have a lot of that. And of course I have other things like, besides I said, the cemetery 700 feet up the road that way. Although next door to us, there used to be a hotel that Steve ran and it burned down in 1931. Next to that is the parking lot. That parking lot was the first Catholic cemetery and they just bulldozed it. They didn't move the bodies. They just bulldozed it
wow.
and cemented it at some point in time to make a parking lot.
Like,
So
This-
like, and then we have the creek, and so we have all of these things that kind of come together to make this like the most like a really perfect place. But like, yeah, no, I find it interesting. I don't know what your bucket lists are besides the Stanley.
well, you
I'm-
definitely were.
yes,
were
you've
put on
definitely
it.
been added.
Yeah, we
Woohoo!
want to just like we don't do a lot of like girl things
Yes.
together. Like I'm
It's-
married, she's got a boyfriend, but she also has a kiddo.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it hard. So like when we get to see each other, like it used to just be like Brittany, me, Marshall, Amora,
Right.
and
then like
and then we're like, I was like, yo, you want to start a pod? She's like,
yeah.
yeah.
And this has become like our thing. And
And now
now
we get to see each other once a week, sometimes multiple times a week,
Yeah.
and we just absolutely love it. And we're like, we've got to go here,
Yeah.
and here together. And
You know what the trick? So me and my husband, we have been together for 27 years. You want to know what the trick is?
yeah,
I travel
please.
all the time without him. That's the trick.
we had our
If you
first
don't
girls
go away, I
trip.
can't miss you. Right?
That's
Exactly.
so true.
So my husband doesn't like to travel. He gets to stay home with the dogs because we don't have kids. So you get to stay home and you can take care of the house and the dogs.
Mhm.
But I'm still going to go do all of these things that I really enjoy doing. He's good with that because he doesn't want to fly, so it does not matter to him one bit.
Right.
But we have our different things that we're interested in. Said he also doesn't believe in ghosts, but yeah. So I've been to like this summer. My nieces live in Orlando. I live here. So instead of them flying to California or me flying to Florida to hang out this summer, we met in Kentucky.
Love
Nice.
that.
So we went from Louisville all the way through West Virginia. We did Trans-Allegheny. I've been there
Wow.
before, but we stayed the night at the Lake Shawnee Haunted Amusement Park. We did
Wow.
Waverly. So we went to like the Mothman Museum, whatever they wanted to do. They're like, there's this
Right.
random abandoned thing in the middle of this town, out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, let's go. Like,
Right.
so we just did whatever they wanted. We just drove around for a week and we stopped off at all. We did all these places. But so we did overnights at Lake Shawnee and at Waverly. And I can tell you, this house has ruined me because it is so active going to these places where you pay
Right.
all this money and
Mhm.
it's like
Oh
two
wow.
Right.
like one thing happened or two things happened and I'm like
Right.
that's like that happens before 7 o'clock here, so like
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 oh.
without me trying, like me trying to watch TV and they're messing with things, like type of
Right.
situation. So it's kind of like okay, like, and so it definitely has ruined me. And I've had a paranormal group who came out and they said that this is the most active place they've ever been, and they said including places like Waverly, and I think that that's why that stuck in my brain was Waverly,
Right.
was because they had that. So I guess I should know, but down the street from the house, about 4-minute walk south on Main Street here, is the National Hotel, and the National Hotel has been on all the ghost shows too. And I
Right.
talk to people who used to work there, and they're like people who work there now or used to work there before, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I worked there for 10 years, and this one thing happened." And I'm like,
That's it? That's all you got?
"That's a Tuesday at my house. Like, I don't understand." Like,
That's pretty
so
normal.
I definitely have been spiritually ruined by this house for sure. But yeah,
Well,
you should take the podcast on the road and go and see some of these.
that's eventually the goal, is
Yeah.
to do some podcasts in some other locations and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Stop staring into the dark abyss of the basement.
I'm not feast staring at something.
I don't know. It's probably one of her brothers, but you're freaking me out.
It's not. I know Eddie's not over there.
We have like, or she's got like a storage area that's
Yeah.
like just outside our camera view.
I'm guessing
and
that's
it's
the
just
Christmas
pitch
room.
black.
I actually leads.
connected.
It's like a little mini
Okay.
alley. It's like an alleyway, I like to call it, that leads to the Christmas room.
Okay, so that's the alleyway that I hate in my basement. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's where
exactly.
like all the storage stuff is. You gotta like pop your head in there and like grab shit. No, but something over there grabs Fiona's attention
all the time, and it freaks us out because she is like a constant moving cat,
and she'll just like
and she'll just sit there and stare into the abyss, and I'm like,
I'm not paying attention to what goes on over there, but I don't have any cats in the house. The dogs have always liked it, but Steve's family really likes dogs, because I've got a picture of his mom from like she died in 1935, but I have a picture of his mom sitting on the porch with a pit bull. And then I've got a picture of Linda when she was like probably 4. She's got a bottle in her mouth, and then a dog has the other end of the bottle in its mouth. So they're
so
dog
cute.
lovers. Yeah, so they were dog lovers. And so the dogs have never had issues in this house because I foster special needs dogs. And so I say I leave the dogs home all the time for my husband, but the ones that wear diapers I take with me.
Right.
So I've had a lot of dogs in this house, and they really
probably love it. They're like, yay, puppies.
So the creepy room with the creepy lady over here, all I did was put like one of those really hard, uncomfortable Victorian couches in there, and like there's a desk and a Victrola. And I would come up and find the dog laying on it, like belly up. And I'm like, why are you in that room of all
out of
all the choices you have?
Well, none of my other cats really care that much. Eddie will be like, Zeus is like, whatever, like if you're gonna die, you're gonna die. Like, I don't care at this point, just keep me fed. I'll just eat your body.
He'll eat your face. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll eat your body. Fiona's like,
yeah, Fiona's like freaked out by everything.
She doesn't like
yeah
things she can't understand.
I'm Fiona, I get it.
No, Fiona's a great little cat. She's a little bitch, but she's great.
Same. Yeah, I'm Fiona.
We all can. I am definitely they say cats take after their owners. She's literally me.
Yes, literally, because if I have a snack, like me and her are both obsessed with pickles, and if I come with a pickle without her, I'm dead to her. And that's the same thing with Fiona. If I'm eating something and I don't share a little bit of it, I'm like dead to her. She does not come around me the rest.
She does like that cute little thing that like you're like but she won't touch you, and then finally she'll go after the fork, and then after your mouth, and you're like, oh my god, fine, and you like suck off any spices, and then you stick it down, you're like, there you go,
take it.
Just leave me alone.
Just take it and run.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know what a cat would do in this house, but yeah, those dogs. And actually one time when I had a paranormal investigation here, I didn't bring the dogs with me because I didn't want them walking around and making noise or whatever. Right. And when I didn't, we were in the basement, and through the spirit box, it's like dogs.
Oh my God. They're like, come on, stick to routine
the dogs
here.
So it's
where's the woof woofs?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was before I found those pictures. So I was like, oh, do they not like the dogs? Do they like the dogs? Like, what's going on? And then I found the picture. So I'm like, oh, they like dogs. That's good to know. But I love those pictures, those 2 pictures.
That's got,
because one of them is like it's a pit bull with his mom, who looks a lot like Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. And then she's a handsome woman. And then the picture of Zelinda, she is just an adorable little girl. But yeah, that one looks like more like a German Shepherd mix, maybe a German Shepherd Border Collie or something like that mix. Aww. So that's a cute
that
one.
Makes me think of Bella.
Oh, baby.
I know.
I'm sorry.
We just one of my childhood dogs just passed, and we just had to put her down, and she was a golden or German Shepherd Border Collie Husky mix, and I'm like, my heart.
Bella Boo.
Well, we'll kind of wrap it here.
Yeah, do you want to wrap it here, or do you want to go in the basement, or do you want to quit and go into the basement?
Yeah, we'll save that for maybe we'll do when we do our podcast there, because we're gonna promise our audience we will get out there.
I want to go to the basement still.
Well, I know. We're going to save that.
See, she wants to go to the basement, and she wants to wait until she does it in person.
No. we're gonna make our audience wait, but we're gonna go down once.
Oh,
we
okay,
record.
good. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. We love you, Spookytins, but you don't get this one.
This one's all for us for being greedy.
We're being greedy little bitches right now.
Okay, so thank you so much, and we'll for sure have to have you on the show again to talk more and
Yes.
whatnot before.
I can talk all day about this stuff because we barely scratched the surface.
I
I
know.
know.
I
We
hate
love-
when we do that.
I know. It's really bad.
All right, so we'll stop recording. Bye, Spookytins.
Wow, Spookytins.
Oh gosh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay, so like we said, you didn't come to the basement.
No, we left y'all right here, and we
We went to the basement.
had a great time.
But
We-
because we love you, we released some on social media.
So by the time this actually comes out, you will have probably already seen that.
So you're welcome.
You got a little bit.
You're welcome.
Also, you shall notice, YouTube viewers, that we are no longer in the same outfits either.
Yeah, we changed because we were feeling a little gross.
No, just kidding. We
this is,
completely
like,
forgot.
days later.
We completely forgot to do an outro after because we got so caught up with
the ghosties.
the ghosties. So we apologize, but then sorry, not sorry.
Thank you.
I hate that. I hate that so
I
much.
do too.
I have
hear it all the
cringes.
time. Thank you.
Remember that show Awkward?
Yeah.
Sadie.
Thank you.
No,
No, thank you.
sorry, not sorry.
Oh, and we're also super exhausted right now, so our like chaos level has risen.
Yes, sorry, we're like crackheads apparently.
I don't even know what time it is. Bedtime.
Facts. But yes, so we Bethany's home sweet haunted home. Oh my god, I still can't say it. It's been days later and I apologize.
It's a lot of words.
It is a lot of
Elsie was great.
Elsie is amazing. And like we said earlier, we'll definitely have to, have her on and we'll go deeper into the histories. Wow. Okay, girl.
I'm so sorry.
Tell me how you really feel.
It was my turn to burp.
Apparently.
You tasted like a pickle though, so it's all right.
But yeah.
I'm so sorry. I felt like Brittany a moment.
That's just my characteristic on the show.
Well, it's not like you were about to shit your pants 2 seconds ago.
Stop! Why do you have to expose me? I swear to God, I fart, you expose me.
I fart, you fart, and I expose you. Yet when I press record, you fart again.
I didn't fart this time, so shut up. Oh. But anyway, yes, we'll definitely have to have Elsie on the show again and go deeper into all the history she's gathered because she showed
So much.
anyone that watches on YouTube will see the giant binder that she has collected over just the almost 2 years now that she's owned the home.
Guys, I didn't even collect that much information for a subject in school. Not even when I was in college.
You dropped out.
Why are you laughing? So did you. What was that attack? Was that an attack? Because it didn't work. Because it just came boomeranging right back at you.
Uno reverse.
There you go.
All right, guys. But as per usual, if you have any spooky stories, encounters, alien, UFO sightings, what have you,
Even if you just want to say hi, like we get bored.
we like fan mail.
Yeah, I mean, we get tired of all the advertisements for things that we don't want.
All the spam texts, spam calls. Why can't you spam us? But if you do have those or want to say hi, don't be afraid to email us at beafraidofthedarkpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh,
And also don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on
yeah.
with you. We have Instagram,
Twitter,
TikTok, Facebook.
I can't do it anymore.
And on Facebook, we do have a Facebook page.
Yeah, we got a page.
Or a business page, I should say. And
A business page.
Stop it. It's enough. And a Facebook group.
In a group. Oh, I'm so tired.
But yes, so please follow us on all platforms.
Please. I'm sorry, I'll stop.
They all left. If any of y'all stayed, we're proud of you.
I swear I'm a good person.
But yes, like I said,
Oh,
follow
guys,
us-
my husband bought me a Mac. Okay, sorry, that's it.
so chaotic tonight.
I just looked at my Louis. I just thought,
It's not even in there.
oh God, it's not. Shh, Lucas, don't listen to that part.
But yes, follow us on all platforms. Listen in every week. We always have something fun in all of our chaotic energy.
I hope we have something fun.
But until then, Brittany, remember, don't look behind you.